I know that what I'm about to tell you is going to sound completely crazy, but I think it's necessary. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. What matters most is saving as many people as possible. I don't know what made this demonic thing, or how mortals could have created it. The only thing I'm absolutely sure of is that it wasn't created to serve others, but only to serve its creator. This morning, as I was coming home after running some errands, I stepped on something. I immediately looked down and saw what was between my foot and the sidewalk. It was a cell phone. I picked it up and looked at it carefully. The case was black and red with embossed patterns on the back. It wasn't a touchscreen like most smartphones today. Its buttons were really nice, the numbers were gold, and the font had a very unique Gothic style. The phone was unique. I'd never seen anything like it. I didn't look at it any longer and quickly checked to see if it belonged to someone. I thought the owner would still be here. But after looking around, I noticed there were very few people. The street was quiet. No one appeared to have lost anything. I put it in my pocket and went home. That was my very first mistake. After getting home, I checked the contacts to try to identify the phone's owner. I expected to find mom or dad in the contact list, but that wasn't the case. The contact list was simply empty. Then I checked the recent calls made with it, but I got the same result. The call log was also completely empty. It's like the phone was reset and left on the sidewalk. I felt lucky since the phone had such a unique style. And besides, I've never really liked touchscreens. I never play games on my smartphone, and I never go on social media either. So I was thinking of making it my main phone. After all, there was very little chance that anyone would ask me for it. And that was my second mistake. So I took the SIM card out of my smartphone and put it inside this one. I started to understand why there were no numbers displayed in the contacts list. It's precisely because the phone didn't have a SIM card. I wondered if the phone had been stolen, then reset, and eventually fell out of the thief's pocket and ended up on the sidewalk. But there was nothing I could do about it, in any case, and I had no way to check that. I began transferring all my contacts from my old phone to my new one. Mom, Dad, my little brother, my 2 sisters, and so on. I then called my mother, who was vacationing with my father in South Korea. I used it to test if the phone worked. Hello, Steve. Hi, Mom. How's your vacation? Are you both having a good time?
It's really nice here, maybe even a little too nice. Your father is under that tree in the shade. He struggles with the sun. And, with his heart...
Definitely. Remember to stay hydrated. And I guess he still hasn't changed his mind, by the way.
You know your father? Being a heart patient doesn't change anything for him. He's always wanted to do it. That's why I'm going with him. Because I don't really like it either. The idea of letting him do this alone terrifies me.
I see. So basically, you're taking the risk of bungee jumping with someone who has a heart condition. You know you might end up hanging at the end of a rope with a corpse, waiting for him to untie you. Steve Mumman, I'm just angry at him. What he's doing is not responsible at all. So just jump without a bungee cord. The result will be the same anyway. There were a few seconds of silence and my mother hung up. I know what you're thinking. Yes, my words were harsh, but I meant no harm. All I wanted was for him not to jump. Yes, I lost my temper then, but I was hoping that my words would scare them enough and that he would decide not to jump anymore afterwards. I looked at my phone for a few seconds before putting it back in my pocket. I still struggled with her basically hanging up on me. It had been several years since that had happened. My father and I didn't get along and often argued. On the other hand, it was rare with Mom. I pulled out my phone to call and apologize, but it rang before I could dial my mother's number. It was my boss. Mr. Nichols. Hello, Steve. Am I bothering you? Steve. Yes, just like always. No, you're not bothering me, Mr. Genial. I need your help. Delphine was sick at the reception all morning, so I sent her to the doctor. The intern can't work properly. Would you be available in about 15 minutes? I know you're not very far. And since you know the position a bit, the substitute won't be available before noon. Yes, sir. I'll be there in 10 minutes. The perks of working in a hotel? They call you in to cover for someone, even if it's just for half an hour, while the boss is off doing nothing in a corner. Half an hour. It's surprising how lazy some people are. And me, I accept like a damn fool. I hung up. Then I muttered something like, "Go to hell, you lazy bastard." But well, the only detail I hadn't noticed was that actually I hadn't hung up properly. I watched the seconds tick by on the screen. The last time I felt distressed was waiting for my high school exam results. I put the phone to my ear and stammered, Mr. Nichols. Then the call ended. My hands were sweaty, I was in complete uncertainty. Did he hear me? Or maybe he was just slow to hang up, and so he didn't have the phone to his ear anymore, and he didn't hear what I said. I started to sweat. I couldn't afford to lose my job. I was in a really complicated financial situation. My heart was beating really fast. Driving to my hotel, I pretended nothing happened. I arrived 10 minutes late, and after parking near the hotel, noticed something odd. A crowd gathered in front of the entrance airlock. The guests were likely discussing it, some called others, while some cried. Something serious had just happened. I ran to the entrance and pushed past the few people blocking my way. Then I entered the airlock. I was stopped dead in my tracks. A macabre scene appeared before me. The airlock doors behind me closed. The noise stopped, leaving only a faint knocking against wood. A foot was regularly tapping on the reception counter. It was Mr. Nichols' foot. His body was hanging at the end of a rope. I felt nauseous and stopped myself from vomiting breakfast. I instinctively grabbed my phone and called emergency services. I put it on speaker and ran toward Mr. Nichols' body. I grabbed a bar stool and tried to untie the rope as emergency services answered the call. I only remember one thing that happened. When I put the phone on the counter and emergency services answered, I immediately said, "Come as quickly as possible to the Lucio's hotel." Mr. Nicole hanged himself quickly. Immediately after, they hung up without saying a word. It was a small town, and since it was a local number, they must have known exactly where it was. So, I didn't think much more about it, and I kept untying the rope. Mr. Nicole's body hit the ground with a loud crash. I checked his breathing and pulse right away, but found no signs of either. I turned to the people by the entry airlock, suddenly overwhelmed by rage. No one had accomplished even a fraction of what I did. They were packed together like sheep, waiting for a man to hang himself alone. I tried to hold back my rage, but it overpowered me. Mr. Nicole was dead. Maybe he could have been saved by one of them, but no one dared lift a finger. So I put one foot in front of the other, heading toward the entrance, my fists clenched, but just before I crossed the entrance, the paramedics arrived. Only, he crashed right into the crowd. My body was paralyzed by surprise, fear, and confusion. Blood started to flow down the windows of the airlock. The doors opened and closed due to the recent violent shock. I even think I saw a head roll across the floor, just before the driver of the emergency vehicle appeared. His face was pale and expressionless, as if dead inside, as he stared into my eyes. I still couldn't move. I was in shock. He paused briefly, then said, "There you go, sir." His voice was lifeless, robotic. I got here as quickly as possible. I did everything in my power to get here as fast as I could. I couldn't speak. "If you need anything else, just ask me. Use your phone." That's when I understood everything. I realized what the power of this phone was. I understood that this phone was dangerous. I later realized trying to remove it was pointless. It's unbreakable and can withstand anything. I realized that I could ask for anything from the person I called with this phone. Because the person on the other end will follow even the worst orders. "Go die," I told Mr. Nichols, and he obeyed. "Come as quickly as possible," I told the paramedics, and they came as quickly as possible, no matter the cost, no matter the victims. Then I remembered what I told my mother earlier. "So jump then, without a bungee cord. The result will be the same anyway." She must have taken me seriously, since it's been hours, and she still hasn't answered.